What other teams are there? Is there any other team that is really interesting?
What about to you? What about LEC teams?
Who else stands out to you? Because here's the thing: we haven't talked about any of the top teams yet, Jim. But the thing is, it's such a diverse group. I wonder who's the one that really stands out to you of the top teams.
I really like G2's improvement, but I think overall Fnatic,
top of the league. Let's do it.
Fnatic. What I really like about them, and I think I talked about this to Tolkien to begin the season with, because I was kind of flaming the support to jungle changes, then the top to jungle changes, because to me it seemed a bit disrespectful. But when he actually talked about the reasoning why they did that move, and I just have to address it as much stated. Like, it's basically that they want to kind of like really just get more smarts into the team. That's basically what it is. Yeah, when they had the Bwipo coming in, they knew that he was going to be mechanically able to take on the jungle role, but he also had the game smarts and experience over the years of playing at the top level. Yeah, going to Worlds Finals, going to Worlds what he went afterwards, quarterfinals and quarterfinals. Like, it really obviously shaped his knowledge about the jungle role and shaped his knowledge about whatever he has to do, right? So them now having better synergy than beforehand is something that a lot of people didn't expect, because they over-evaluated how good self-made has been functioning. And I think that's where the disparity in terms of expectation came from. Self-made, when we looked at last bit, he kind of seemed like out of position, similar to Blaba within C9, to kind of cross-reference. Is that he didn't quite understand what his team wanted, and he didn't quite play adherent to his team. So he's always on his own, and the team behind him was just relatively passive and didn't quite make as many plays as he did, right? So I felt like there was a complete lack of synergy between the two. But that also happens when you have a lack of communication. And I think that's what has been solved when they brought in Bwipo. Because Bwipo, you can say whatever about this guy. Yeah, this guy does not he never shuts up. This guy, he always looks like he just went to Starbucks, had his common order of 100 espressos, with just a shot of milk, and he's just there. And
right, and as a guy who's going to manage the early game, I mean, I think it's no surprise that Nisqy looks a lot better, because Bwipo is just literally microing him.
Yeah, I mean, and they synergize so well, because Bwipo and Nisqy have the same approach towards the team, towards how a team should function, right? Mid jungle is gonna be a facilitator for the map.
Yep.
They're not really doing stuff on the lane necessarily, but they're doing stuff together for other lanes, and that really enables Adam, and especially their bot lane, which to me right now is the best performing bot lane.
The best for sure. Probably, yeah.
To actually be who they are. And I think Upset has lacked that kind of leader, that kind of ability from the mid jungle ever since, honestly, the Nuke Duck and me days, to a certain extent, because none of the other players or combinations of mid jungle have had that kind of activity level when I think about it. And his laning phase, despite me being a harsh critic of his clutch performances over the years, his laning phase is insane. He knows what he has to do, and I think that really makes it a good blueprint that they have going for them right now.
Well, the bad thing is, I actually felt so bad for him after the last split. 'Cause I remember thinking, mate, imagine joining Fnatic, right? And it's you wait your whole finally I'm getting the Fnatic offer. There's no one here. What the fuck? And not only that, but now I even lose the self-made guy. One of the only players, on paper I would want a superstar player. And you make him our top player in a fucking role swap. That sounds like a nightmare scenario. It's actually ended up bizarrely. His team's top of the fucking league. So yeah, it's one of those scenarios you can never know how something actually works out in the end. Even the reasoning, because actually I'll allude to something you mentioned there. One of the reasons I heard from I think it was when we had Yamato Cannon on this show, he basically also said one of the logic that they had went like this. Since they really liked the communication between Hillesang and Bwipo, anything that allows them to both still play in the game, but Bwipo to be closer to him on the map is even better. That even actually, when you look at how they play, it makes perfect sense now. I have to say, the problem is, I still do sort of think we can't really know. We have to sort of put a pin in the Bwipo jungle thing until next year, in my opinion. Until we've been through a full year cycle of all the meta swaps, I can't just go, he's definitely going to be he's the new score of Europe. I don't know. I feel like there might be next year, you might have to just go back to top lane all of a sudden really quickly. We'll see. We'll see how that works.
Also, nobody's mentioning that Adam is still sus as fuck.
No one knows exactly if he's made it yet. Here's the problem. The other one,
we don't know that Adam's not the imposter. That's all I'm saying.
Here's the thing. it makes perfect sense. The analogy for him is this. No one, by the way, was saying he's like the best top in Europe and he's not. No, but it's because people had such little expectations because they thought, well, he can't be as good as Bwipo because Bwipo was one of the best. And he's coming into a potentially broken team and he's barely played League of Legends professionally. So I think it's more like the fact he hasn't been terrible has made people almost say he's one of the best. There's definitely a lot of question marks on him still. He's been all right. He's been absolutely fine, of course. But
I wouldn't put all my chips on the Adam table when it comes to playoffs or it comes to an international game. I think he has been improving, but like a lot of the comps that they were trying to run around kind of his top Olaf strengths early in the season were pretty big fails. And so, you don't need a carry top laner on this roster. I think you can play through Upset and Hylissang like just fine. So in some ways, I kind of wish they had a more kind of standard top laner for them, or a more veteran one. Again,
is there a French top laner that you would suggest? Is this one?
Exactly. But yeah, I think that there are definitely some choices. I understand why you might like roll the dice on Adam, but I maybe wouldn't do that heading into summer and Worlds. I may that's like a project I might have started a little bit earlier on in the year.
Yeah, it seems a bit risky. Like if you think about like how potential, I mean, honestly, when it comes to playoffs, like the games usually slow down. Like that's how it works because like people are more accustomed to one another, right? So they have more knowledge about like the strategies of the other team. So it becomes a more stale game, and I think that's where Adam is going to face maybe his biggest issues, and I think Bwipo is also going to face some of his issues, because what we have not seen from that roster is, I guess, if the game is being slowed down and they cannot rapidly advance the games in certain scenarios, and I think that's where I would say they could potentially face some issues, because that's where I think both Bwipo and Hylissang over the years have also struggled when they have had to face rosters or teams that were playing a more, I guess, like macro heavy style and kind of answered a lot of their early advances.
I also just think like straight up in a best of 5 in playoffs, I'm taking Rogue over Fnatic every time at this point, unless I see significant development. I'm taking G2 probably over Fnatic, maybe taking Mad Lions over Fnatic. And so they can be at the top of the league right now in best of 1s, but I am very suspicious of them in a best of 5 setting.
Also, technically, Adam's actually genius because he's also running counter to what we described earlier, which is, yes, obviously all the big core streamers like LS are the dominant narrative. And if they keep saying all the time, amazing, that fucking Renekton's a shit champion, he can be a Renekton one-trick his whole career and he'll never be banned away, logically. So that's a fucking thinking man right there. He's almost like seeing into the future there. Well done. Well done, son.
Yep, that's what it is.
But you are a one-trick and you will get banned out, so welcome to best of 5s. Want to see more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.